The wind whipped around me as I zipped up my jacket, the crunch of pine needles under my boots, the only sound in the unnervingly silent forest. "Are you absolutely sure this is the spot?" I asked the local ranger leading me up the trail. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Positive, Dr. Fleming. Never seen anything like it. Some folks are saying it's a dragon, but that's just old stories." I adjusted the heavy medical pack on my shoulders. "I'll take it from here," I told him. "Animals are less threatened by a single person." With a nod of relief, he turned back, leaving me alone with the quiet woods. I pushed forward, following a trail of destruction that no bear or mountain lion could have created. The trees were snapped like twigs, and the earth was scarred with deep furrows. Then a strange smell hit me. Charred wood, something metallic like blood, and a bizarre, spicy scent like hot stone and cinnamon. In the clearing ahead, my breath caught in my throat. My medical pack slid from my numb fingers and hit the ground with a soft thud. It wasn't a bear. It was a creature the size of a small bus, its body covered in scales that shimmered like dull copper. Two massive leathery wings were crumpled and torn, one clearly broken. Steam billowed from its nostrils with every pained breath. My mind reeled. "A fire drake," I whispered. A creature of myth right in front of me. Its eyes, the color of molten amber, snapped open and locked onto mine. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my years as a wildlife vet kept me frozen in place. Fear would only make things worse. "I'm not here to hurt you," I said softly, my voice barely a whisper. The creature seemed to understand, relaxing just a fraction. Then, a voice echoed not in the air, but directly inside my mind. Healer. The word was heavy with exhaustion and pain. "You smell of healing." My scientific skepticism shattered. "Yes," I managed to reply, my voice trembling. "I'm a doctor, for animals." The drake shifted its massive head, revealing what it was protecting. Tucked under its wing was a single, large egg, glowing with a soft inner warmth. Too late. For me? The voice in my head grew weaker. Poison in the wounds. My training kicked in. I saw the deep, festering gashes along its side. "Let me try," I said, my hands shaking as I unpacked my supplies. "I've treated toxin cases before." "My name is Kazan." The drake's thoughts faded in and out. "Last male of my kind. The egg." "I'll help both of you," I promised, quickly administering a powerful antibiotic. I worked through the entire night, cleaning the terrible wounds, pushing fluids, and doing everything I could for a creature whose biology was a complete mystery. As dawn approached, Kazan's breathing became shallow. He spoke one last time in my mind. "Promise. Protect the little one. Teach our ways. Remember us." His great eyes met mine. "You have honor, human healer. The egg is yours now." As the first rays of sun crested the mountain peaks, Kazan took one final shuddering breath and then was still. I collapsed back on my heels, tears streaming down my face for the magnificent creature I had only just met. Against my side, the egg pulsed with warmth, a small miracle, completely unharmed. I carefully wrapped it in my jacket, cradling it against the cold. Looking out at the silent forest, I made a vow. "I promise, Kazan," I whispered. "I'll protect your child, whatever it takes." 3 weeks. It had been 3 long weeks since Kazan, my mentor, my friend, passed away, leaving me with his greatest secret. I sat in the quiet of my remote cabin, the silence broken only by the hum of the makeshift incubator I'd cobbled together. Inside, nestled amongst heating lamps and monitoring equipment, was an egg. Not just any egg. A fire drake's egg. Any changes? The voice belonged to Dr. Jin Park, my colleague and the only soul on this planet I'd trusted with this impossible truth. He peered at the setup, his scientific curiosity warring with his skepticism. I didn't take my eyes off the readings. "Temperature's been rising steadily," I replied, my own voice barely a whisper. "And there's more movement inside." Jin adjusted his glasses, his expression turning serious. "No one is taking this baby," I said, the words a vow. I made a promise. As if on cue, a thin hairline crack shot across the shell. We both froze, the hum of the incubator suddenly deafening in the silence. "It's happening," Jin breathed, fumbling for his camera. I shot him a look that stopped him cold. "No documentation," I said. "Not yet." This moment was too sacred. The crack widened, branching out like a spider web across the warm surface. A tiny, high-pitched chirp echoed from within. My heart hammered against my ribs as I leaned closer. With one final determined push, a tiny, scaled head broke through. Its eyes, impossibly bright, were the color of a perfect sunset. It chirped again, a small, insistent sound, struggling against the confines of its shell. My instincts took over. I gently helped, breaking away small pieces until the tiny creature emerged fully. It was breathtaking. No bigger than a small cat, with scales of copper and gold that shimmered in the lamplight. Its miniature wings, still damp, unfurled for the first time. As it took in its new world, its gaze landed on me. A soft, trilling sound vibrated in the air, a sound of pure recognition. "Hello there," I whispered, my vision blurring with tears I hadn't realized were falling. The hatchling wobbled toward my outstretched hands, nuzzling against my fingers. And then I felt it, a faint warmth brushing against my mind. Not words, but feelings, hunger, curiosity, and an overwhelming sense of belonging. "It knows you," Jin said, his voice filled with awe. "It's imprinting." The little drake, my little drake, climbed onto my lap. It circled 3 times, a strangely familiar instinctual dance, before settling down. A gentle heat radiated from its body like a small personal furnace. "What will you name it?" Jin asked softly. I stroked its tiny head, and it pushed up against my palm like a cat asking for more affection. I looked at the embers glowing in the fireplace, then back at the warm, living creature in my lap. I watched, breathless, as Ember's body began to shimmer, enveloped in a haze of heat. Her scales seemed to melt and flow, her wings folding seamlessly into a human back. Within minutes, where my young drake had stood, a child sat blinking in confusion. A little girl with fiery copper-red hair and those same remarkable amber eyes. Now, I watch that same little girl as she practices her letters at our kitchen table. Her brow is furrowed in concentration as she carefully, painstakingly writes her name. "Very good," I encourage, my heart swelling with a fierce, protective love. "You're getting better every day." Ember beams at me, a wide, happy smile that reveals slightly pointed canines. "Can I shift and go flying now? I finished my lessons." "After lunch, I promise. And only over our property, remember?" More, I agreed, a sense of awe and responsibility settling over me. Do you realize what this means? If drakes still exist, as far as we know, it's only Ember. Her father was the last male of his kind. I rubbed my temples, the implications swirling in my mind. The scientific significance alone is staggering, not to mention the legal nightmare. There are no laws to protect mythical creatures. I told her how my love for the wilderness was born from losing my brother to the violence of the city. We were two lonely people, bound by an extraordinary secret. One evening we were walking the property line, the moon casting a silver path across the lake. "Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing," Nora confessed, her voice soft in the stillness. "Keeping her here with me, away from any others of her kind." I stopped and turned to her. "You gave her a home," I said quietly. "You gave her love. That's never the wrong thing to do." In the soft moonlight, our hands found each other, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had grown between us. We weren't just partners in a secret anymore. We were becoming a family, a warden, a scientist, and a little girl who was really a dragon. Our two separate lives were now irreversibly intertwined, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Thanks for tuning in to our story today. High up in the pines, I watched them. Marcus was teaching Nora how to track, his hand guiding hers over a deer print in the soft earth. I could feel my foster mother's heart beat a little faster, see his touch linger just a second too long. From my perch, I sent a thought to the falcon beside me. "They're falling in love." The falcon sent back a feeling, an impression. Two legs often circle each other long before nesting. I had to agree. Humans are strange. He was family now. His little cabin across the lake was connected to ours by a path worn smooth by our footsteps. He'd even declared our land a special research area, a clever way to keep outsiders away and us safe. At 12, my life was changing too. I was bigger now, the size of a small horse in my drake form, and my powers were growing stronger. But with that came the dreams. Vivid, unsettling visions of mountains I'd never seen, caves lit by glowing crystals and other drakes. It started on my birthday. I'd wake up with memories that weren't mine, ancient songs in a language I somehow knew. Father's memories, I figured, or something older. I launched into the sky, the wind under my wings always helping to clear my head. Landing by the lake, I shifted back to my human form, pulling on the clothes I'd left by the shore. Just then, Nora and Marcus emerged from the woods. "Good flight?" she asked. I hesitated. "I had another dream last night," I confessed. "The mountains again. But this time I saw others. A whole community. They were calling to me." Before we could talk more, Marcus's radio crackled to life. His face went grim. "Poachers," he said. "3 men, heavily armed on the northern boundary." He told us to stay put while he went to head them off. But as he left, I made my own decision. Shifting into my drake form, I soared silently into the sky, staying high above the trees. It was easy to spot them from above, but something was wrong. They weren't hunting bear or wolf, they were heading straight for our cabin. This wasn't random. Extending my senses, I caught fragments of their thoughts. Rare specimen, fire lizard, worth millions, tranquilizers ready. They knew about me. They were hunting me, Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you're as invested in Ember's journey as I am, please hit that like button and subscribe to see what happens next. Your support means the world. Ember stood on the precipice, a gust of wind rustling through her coppery hair, the scent of pine and stone filling her lungs. Behind her, the familiar silhouette of the rebuilt cabin beside the lake, her home for 13 years. Ahead, a hidden valley cradled between towering mountain peaks, a secret world revealed to her through months of haunting, vivid dreams. This was the border, the literal line between two worlds, and she was caught in the middle. Down in that valley was the impossible made real, other drakes. Not a vast multitude, maybe 20 in all, but they were alive, breathing, thriving. And right now their ancient, intelligent eyes were fixed on her with a mixture of caution and intense curiosity. You don't have to decide today. Nora's voice was a soft anchor in the swirling emotions. She stood beside Ember, the past year of stress and upheaval etched in fine lines around her eyes. It had been a hard year, rebuilding after the fire, after the poachers had shattered their sanctuary. She's right, Marcus added, his arm still occasionally stiff from where the tranquilizer dart had hit him, wrapped around Nora. The crisis had forged their bond into something unbreakable, symbolized by the matching silver bands on their hands. Whatever you choose, Ember, we'll support you. A lump formed in Ember's throat. She shifted, her form rippling and expanding. In her drake shape, she now towered over them, her wings, with their impressive span, folded at her back. Her scales, once the color of new copper, had darkened to a deep, mature bronze. At 13, she was a paradox in both forms, no longer a child, but not yet an adult. From the valley below, a magnificent drake with scales the color of midnight made his way towards them. This was Valen, the elder of this hidden community. His voice, not spoken but felt, resonated in all of their minds, imbued with the weight of centuries. The daughter of Kazan is always welcome among us, he projected. The name of her father, a name she barely knew, sent a shiver through her. But the bond you share with these humans is unusual, unprecedented. Ember met his gaze, her reply both spoken and thought. They're my family. It was that simple, that absolute. Valen's great reptilian head tilted, considering her. Humans and drakes have been separated for centuries, and for good reason. Their fear, our pride, both led to bloodshed. Not all humans fear what they don't understand, Ember countered, her voice firm. Some protect it. As if to prove her point, she felt Nora's hand come to rest on her flank, a familiar, comforting pressure. The gesture was small, but Valen's ancient eyes narrowed thoughtfully, seeing the depth of trust in that simple touch. Perhaps there is wisdom in this unconventional arrangement, he conceded after a long moment. Our numbers dwindle. The world changes. Maybe it is time for old wounds to heal. Before he could say more, a younger, more energetic drake with shimmering silver-blue scales bounded forward. This was Lyria. Over the past few months, during Ember's tentative visits, Lyria had become her first real drake friend, showing her the secret waterfalls and sunning spots of the valley. Why choose? Lyria's mental voice was bright and clear, full of youthful optimism. The human world and ours don't have to stay separate. Ember could be a bridge. The idea hung in the air, audacious and full of hope. Marcus stepped forward, his posture respectful but direct as he addressed the ancient drake. We've protected Ember's existence for 13 years. Our entire lives have been dedicated to the conservation of endangered species. Your people would have that same protection, if you wished it. A low rumble started deep in Valen's chest, and a curl of smoke escaped his nostrils as he processed the offer. A bold proposition. What would this arrangement entail? And so, the conversation began. As the adults, Human and Drake, delved into the complexities, discussing everything from legal wildlife protections to shared knowledge and cultural exchange, Ember felt a strange shift within herself. The dreams that had led her here, the visions of the past, were changing. They were evolving into something new. She began to see glimpses of potential futures. She saw herself, wings beating against the sky, flying between the mountain sanctuary and the human world, a messenger between species. She saw young, curious drakes learning about geology and biology from human scientists. She saw human children, their faces filled with wide-eyed wonder, listening to the ancient wisdom and stories of the drakes. She saw Nora, her notebook filled with sketches and notes, documenting the incredible healing properties of drake medicine, while Marcus worked to establish legal, protective boundaries around their shared territory. And in these visions, she saw herself, not torn between two forms, but whole in both. She wasn't more drake or more human, she was simply, completely, herself. The discussion stretched into the evening. As the first stars pricked the darkening sky, the drakes lit a ceremonial fire pit with controlled bursts of their fiery breath, a silent invitation. They gestured for the humans to join their circle. It was the first gathering of its kind in centuries. Ember shifted back into her human form, the transition now as natural as breathing. She sat on the warm stone between Nora and Marcus, her physical family, while her mind remained open, a silent participant in the telepathic communion of the drakes. In that perfect moment, she wasn't a bridge in theory, she was the living, breathing proof that it was possible. Later that night, after the fire had died down to glowing embers and most had retired to rest, Nora found Ember standing alone, bathed in the soft light of the moon. "Having second thoughts?" Nora asked gently, coming to stand beside her. Ember shook her head, her copper hair gleaming like spun metal. "No, just realizing that I've been asking the wrong question all this time. It was never about choosing between being a drake or a human. It was never about choosing between them or you." Nora's expression softened. "What was it about, then?" "Accepting all parts of myself," Ember said, her amber eyes holding a wisdom that seemed far beyond her 13 years. "And helping others do the same with their differences." Nora pulled her into a fierce, loving embrace. This girl, her daughter, her miracle. "Your father would be so proud of who you've become." "I hope so," Ember whispered into her shoulder. "But I know you and Marcus are, and that means everything." Marcus appeared from the shadows, his quiet presence completing their small, unconventional family circle. Together they stood and gazed out at the two worlds before them. In the valley, the drakes' fires glowed like a constellation of earthbound stars, and far beyond, the lights of distant human towns twinkled against the horizon. "Two worlds," Marcus observed quietly, "both worth protecting." Ember took both of their hands in hers, her grip firm and certain. "Both worth bridging," she corrected. As if in answer, a brilliant shooting star blazed across the vast, dark canvas of the night sky. It felt like an omen, a celestial promise. This wasn't an ending. This was a new chapter just beginning, built on the foundation of everything Nora had given her from the very start: the courage to heal, the strength to protect, and the boundless capacity to love across all boundaries. In that moment, surrounded by everyone she loved, Ember finally understood. Her true heritage wasn't about scales or skin, wings or hands. It was the heart that beat steadily beneath both forms, a heart strong enough to build bridges where walls had stood for centuries. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of our journey. See you next time.